All right, let's jump right in. I want to ask you a question. Where does real thinking actually happen? Now, we all tend to assume it's locked up tight inside our skulls. But what if the key to thinking smarter isn't about, bulking up your brain, but about getting outside of it? Let's dive into this. So, let's start with this quote from author Annie Murphy Paul. It's kind of wild, right? The idea that we use our brains too much. That sounds completely backwards. But this is the core idea we're going to explore today, that our obsession with the brain itself might be the very thing holding our intelligence back. I mean, you've heard this a million times, I'm sure, that the brain is just like a muscle. You do enough Sudoku, play enough of those brain games, and boom, you get cognitively stronger. It's a really catchy metaphor, but it also fuels this huge and often pretty misleading industry. And this isn't just a theory. I mean, look no further than the Lumosity case. This was a massive wake-up call. The company made these huge promises about staving off cognitive decline, but the science just wasn't there to back it up. And it ended with them paying out millions for false advertising. And that right there, that gets to the absolute heart of the problem. We have this brain-bound view of the world. This idea that our mind is just this piece of hardware running software inside our heads, totally separate from everything else. It's a neat and tidy picture, for sure, but it's also incredibly limiting. And as we're about to see, it's just not true. So, what if the secret to better thinking isn't about looking deeper inside the skull, but actually looking outside of it? This is where everything we think we know gets flipped on its head. And this brings us to this incredible concept, the extended mind. This theory suggests that real-world intelligence isn't some solo performance by your brain. Nope. Instead, we think with the world around us. We actually pull our bodies, our surroundings, and even other people into our mental processes to solve problems and come up with new ideas. So to really get a grip on this, we're going to break it down and explore the three core pillars of the extended mind: how we think with our bodies, how we think with our spaces, and how we think with others. First up, the body. We usually think of our bodies as, just a vehicle for our brain, right? It just carries the brain around and does what it's told. But the truth is, our physical sensations and our movements are a crucial part of the thinking process itself. So there's this amazing concept called interoception, which is basically your ability to listen to your body's internal signals, like your own heartbeat. And the research here is fascinating. It shows that people who have a keen sense of this are way more resilient. They can navigate life's challenges and bounce back from setbacks, all because they're tuned into this rich stream of internal data that a lot of us just ignore. It gets even cooler. Our bodies can sometimes be way ahead of our conscious minds. Think about it. Sometimes what we say with our words doesn't quite match what our hands are doing. Researchers call this a gesture-speech mismatch, and it's a huge, flashing sign that someone is right on the edge of a breakthrough, that they're ready to learn something new. And hey, if you need a bigger example, how about Albert Einstein? He famously said he came up with his theory of relativity by imagining himself riding on a beam of light. That wasn't an abstract calculation in his head, it was a physical, embodied thought experiment. His thinking was literally muscular. Okay, let's move on to our second pillar, our physical spaces. The room you're in right now, the view from your window, these aren't just backdrops to your life. They're active participants in your thinking, and they can either drain your mental resources or give them a massive boost. And the data on this is just so compelling. In one famous study, people who took a walk through a natural green space scored a full 20% higher on a memory test than people who walked down busy city streets. It's like nature just hits a reset button on our ability to focus. This isn't some new age idea. We're talking more than 2,000 years ago. Aristotle pointed out that wisdom isn't about having a set of rigid rules. It's about being able to look at a situation and consider what is appropriate to the occasion. And our environment, that's a huge part of the occasion. So how do you actually build a space for better thinking? Well, the Salk Institute is a total masterpiece of this idea. It was designed from the ground up to support the two key modes of scientific work: quiet individual labs for that deep, heads-down focus, and then these open communal spaces to encourage those random, collaborative sparks. It's an architecture that's literally built for brilliant ideas. And that leads us perfectly into our third and final pillar, other people. We love that story of the lone genius having a eureka moment all by themselves in a lab somewhere. But in reality, so much of our intelligence is collective. We think together. You see, practical, real-world wisdom is just deeply social. A study of retirees looking back on their careers found this recurring theme, and this quote just nails it. Real success isn't just about being the smartest person in the room. It's built on empathy and on respecting the value that every single person brings to the table. And the engine that drives all of this is something called shared attention. It's this incredible human ability to just get on the same page with someone else, to focus on the same thing at the same time. It's something that starts when we're babies, just following our parents' gaze, and it scales all the way up to our species' greatest achievements. Okay, so we've seen how we think with our bodies, our spaces, and each other. Now, let's bring it all together and look to the future. What's the next great resource for our extended minds? Well, look no further than artificial intelligence. Because large language models, they're not just another tool like a calculator. They are something fundamentally new. They represent a new class of external resource that we can truly think with. In a very real sense, we are building our future thinking partners. But, and this is a huge but, how we build these partners is absolutely critical. Different training methods lead to wildly different outcomes. Think of supervised fine-tuning, or SFT, as being like cramming for a test. The AI just memorizes a textbook of examples to get really good at one thing, but it might forget how to do everything else. On the other hand, reinforcement learning, or RL, is more like learning from experience. It's about getting feedback. This method helps the AI actually strengthen its reasoning skills without losing its general abilities. We're not just feeding them facts, we are shaping how they learn to think. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? We're getting really good at making AI that's intelligent. But as we start to integrate these new minds into our own extended way of thinking, the real challenge is this. How do we teach them to be wise? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.